Scarlet of Gen Xer Reacts, and boy oh boy, what a controversial and exciting 24 hours it has been. Donald Trump, sadly, will be our next president of the United States. Now, I'm going off of two different articles which I will post down below. Please listen to the entirety of this video before making any comments. It's going to seem like I'm pulling at loose threads. I promise you I will tie it all together. I will weave it all together so that you can understand what I'm getting at. But ladies, I'm speaking to white women specifically, we have a problem, and the problem is you. Now, I mean this with all due love and respect, because white women will go out of their way to support their gay hairdressers and other things, and they have been responsible for a lot of the rights that we enjoy today, and I am eternally thankful. But I've noticed something since I was a little kid. When it comes to taking care of yourselves, women always put themselves last. And I've noticed it growing up and in my professional career. I went to private Christian University, Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, Washington. Now, if you guys have arguments that prove me wrong, please put them down below. I would love somebody to prove me wrong. But I have a sneaking suspicion that I'm right more than I would like to admit. But when we first arrived on campus, one of the things, and it was not official orientation, but a lot of the junior and senior men would pull us young kids aside and say, look, do not date any of the women on campus until at least your senior year. Because a lot of the women on campus came from these, it's private and it's Christian and it's expensive. And so a lot of the women that were there were brought up that their responsibility was to stay at home and have babies, lots of babies, and that the man was the unquestioned head of the household, that women were constitutionally incapable of leading, and so it was the man's job to be the head of the household. And I saw a lot of that carried over into my nurse's career, at least at that time, that was dominated by women. Women would take great pleasure in stabbing each other in the back, especially if they thought they could get ahead of it. By doing so, I should say. I remember one instance, we had a nurse who was going to end up, she wanted to work all weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then have Monday through Thursday off, and then she could work a second job with the school district. And because she was an LPN, licensed practical nurse, not a registered nurse, she wouldn't be eligible for any of the extra benefits that was provided in our contract. One of the nurses on day shift, and I have a sneaking suspicion I know who it was, said, no, you can't do that. It's against our contract. And even though it's not going to hurt me or affect me in the slightest, I'm going to file a formal grievance to prevent you from doing it just because I can. Provided no other reasoning other than I can. And so the nurse manager had to turn down her request, and we ended up losing her as a nurse because her other job, the benefits were much better. And I don't blame her. But this nurse had no problem going after a fellow nurse just because she could. Not because she was inconvenienced or it affected her in any way, shape, or form. And I've seen that especially with women in politics. They will stab each other in the back and they will keep a grudge. Most men, we understand that that's the nature of politics. Stab us in the back, all right, fine. But I might need your help later on down the road in an education bill or something like that. So I'll remind you of it, but I'll let it go. But a lot of women can't be bothered to do that. And what's brought me to that point, as I have seen in 2016 with Clinton and in 24 with Harris, I have seen so many women who refuse to vote for a female candidate because they can't lead, I don't know enough about them, and they will believe the most derogatory, filthy, whatever garbage the GOP wants to put out about him. She is a closet lesbian. She is, and I'm going to use the term sexually generous. She slept her way to the top, and that's the only reason why she is where she is. And I got this a lot from even my own family. I had to block several members because I got sick and tired of hearing it. You would rather believe that crap than vote for a fellow woman to become president. Now, if you look at African American, and I'm referring to this article by Thought Company, how people of color helped Obama win re-election. African Americans in his first election, 95% voted for Obama and 93% voted for him in re-election. You say, well, David, everybody knows the majority of black men and women vote Democrat. Yeah, typically about 75 to 80%. But even the vast majority of conservative Republicans backed Obama. Said, let's get our first black man into the White House. Let's break down that color barrier, and we'll worry about having the perfect candidate next time. But white women could not be bothered to do that in large enough numbers that it drastically affected the election. We have this article from foreignpolicy.com. I will link it in the description, and it says how gender shaped the election. And if you read through there, 54% of women voted for Kamala Harris. Well, you say, well, David, that's the majority of women. But if that had instead read 95% of white women voted for Vice President Kamala Harris, we would be having a vastly different argument. Okay? You're letting the perfect get in the way of the good enough. And I saw that so many times in my own family and in, going around in white communities and the chat rooms and things. I can't vote for Harris because she's too sexually generous. She slept her way to the top. She's inexperienced, blah, 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 blah. Instead, let's just get a woman into the White House. Let's break that glass ceiling, that final glass ceiling, and then next time we'll worry about getting the perfect candidate in the perfect situation into the office. Convince me that I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it. Well, you say, well, David, you're talking about black man and black Latino man, or excuse me, black man and Latino man also voted overwhelmingly for Trump. I can't speak to them. I'm not black and I'm not Latino, duh. But I can speak to the white community, and I can speak more to white women. There are always, unfortunately, going to be white men who are going to vote for the white man no matter what. Can't fix that problem. But women, you've got to do something about it. It affects you in the workplace. It affects the way you deal with each other at home, and it affects how this country is being run by a group of white old men, and how you are now starting to very quickly lose a lot of the rights that you have, in some cases, enjoyed for over 50 years. And you've got to stop breaking down these barriers. You're not baby-making machines who can't lead. You are powerful, strong women who can give life, the creation of life. That is something, at least at this point in time, men will never be able to do, but you can do it by design. And now you have got to stop trying to get the perfect candidate in the perfect position at the perfect time. That will never happen. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And we'll see what kind of disaster Donald Trump has in store for us this second time around.